All right, Baltimore Ravens draft evaluation, draft recap. They only had 6 picks here, and the average team ends up with 8 selections when you add on comp picks. Very interesting, very different than last year where they kept making trades to add more and more selections, get as many players as possible. This year, they're going a little bit different, maybe because they had so many picks and they feel more comfortable doing it. But the Ravens continue to attack that receiver hole that they had in their roster, which is a very important thing to do. I think that they maybe neglected it a little bit. They did make efforts to, get better receivers in previous years. It's not like they completely neglected it because, they drafted Hollywood Brown. They drafted Rashad Bateman. Bateman has looked good when healthy, but has struggled to stay healthy. Hollywood Brown was a fine player, but not worth a first. And eventually they traded for a first, so worked out all right for him. But, like Devin Duvernay was another selection that's been solid. But now you have Zay Flowers and you added Odell. I think those two additions, when you also factor in Isaiah Likely and Mark Andrews, 2 very good receiving tight ends, I think this could be actually, for the first time ever, a legitimately good receiving core that Lamar has to work with. I think last year we saw Lamar have his maybe best year as just a pure passer because the receiving core was like only bad as opposed to awful. Now you could have an actively good receiving core, and I think there's a chance Lamar returns to MVP form next year. I'm not saying it's going to happen. I'm just saying with the receiving core the way it is, he's usually had to deal with very bad receiving cores. I think if you have someone who can take the pressure off of, the running game a little bit and let Lamar do what he can do with his legs and then also be able to throw down the field, you could see a career year out of Lamar, which is also kind of what Big Ben tried to say in that interview that everyone got mad at him for and took him out of context. But that's a conversation for another day. I already have a video posted about how that whole situation happened. I think it could be very exciting times here in Baltimore. Then they drafted Trenton Simpson, who some people saw Trenton Simpson and said, you know what, this guy, mid-second rounder, could be a starting linebacker right away. I kind of said, I don't know about him as a second rounder. So did the NFL. He was projected, also that's what the chart you see on the screen, the player, what position they play, when they were drafted, and where they were on the consensus big board. So Simpson was drafted 86th on the consensus big board, 47th. The NFL also kind of felt like, not sure if he's a second rounder, but picking him up in the 3rd round, I'm a pretty big fan of because there's plenty of people who like him. I wasn't overly impressed with his numbers, his analytics, more advanced stats, not like tackles and stuff, but also just his tape. I wasn't overly impressed with. I think there's stuff to like about him, but very good athleticism, I think very raw, and it's definitely someone who's worth taking a chance on. He's a developmental guy. He is. But you know what? The Ravens can develop guys pretty well, so this is probably the right strategy when it comes to off-the-ball linebackers, is instead of getting guys like in the 1st round, go after guys kind of in round 3. They have Roquan. Patrick Queen, I thought, had his best year as a pro last year and had turned into a real player, whereas, early on in his career, I thought he struggled at the little things, made some splash plays, but struggled at consistency. Last year was the most consistent we've seen from him, but still, you want to have more than just 2 linebackers, and guys get hurt, so getting some depth in that position, I'm a fan of. Then they didn't pick again till 124, so we're going a little bit of ways back, where they added Travis Robinson, an edge rusher out of Mississippi, who, I'm not overly impressed with. You know me, I do value, I don't value traits as much as I value production when it comes to edge rushers. I think, analytics do a great job when it comes to edge rushers at predicting future success. For other positions, it's not as big of a deal. Like for someone like Trenton Simpson, off-ball linebackers doesn't work as well, which is why I'm more of a fan of taking a swing on a guy like that. That being said, it's pick 124. You're not getting a perfect prospect here. So does have some athletic traits that are interesting. 6'6", 257 pounds, runs a 4.6, so relatively athletic, has size on him, and could potentially be a rotational edge rusher, but I don't know if I see a high ceiling for him. Look at the consensus big board. They reached on him by over 100 picks. That's never a good thing. It just isn't. Again, when there's a guy who is projected to go at pick 124 and you select him at, projected to go at 231 and you select him at 124, typically they end up playing like a guy who should have gone at 231. That's just how it typically works. So this is a miss for me, in my opinion. Again, It's just my opinion. Who cares? But, if you're watching my video, I think you want to at least hear my opinions to some degree. I'm not crazy about that selection, but I've been wrong before. Then you have Kyrou Blue Kelly, who is someone who the flip side happened, as he is someone who is, he was projected to go 113. You got him at 157. So, okay, here we go. A couple steals that they had. They had really 3 significant steals here. Not someone with, looking at the profile, you can see why he ended up going into 5th round. Didn't have a ton of production. Ran a 4.52, which is solid, but not special. And usually as a corner, you do want someone who can go, be under 4.5. He is, 6 feet tall, has a little bit of size on him, and does have one of the things that you like about him, smart player. He went to Stanford, so have to be smart there, but just the football IQ is smart, and that's kind of one thing that you like about him, and he should be pro ready. Had a ton of starting experience, despite the fact that he still is just 21 years old, so there's reasons to like him, but I can also understand why he fell a little bit to the 5th round, but for a 5th round pick, feels like a great decision there. We then had one more reach, not quite 100 picks of a reach, but pretty close. Projected to go at 296, which means undrafted. But he ends up going at 199. But again, pick 199. What's really going to happen here? Melissa Alamane Luau. Don't think I said that right. I apologize. But Mal, if you will. He's someone who, again, the analytics are pretty solid, actually. 317, 6'5". Could be able to come in and be a good depth offensive lineman. I don't know how much else I'm expecting out of him, but hey, good depth offensive lineman. Those guys are worth 6th round picks for sure. We then had a guy who, great name, Andrew Voorhees, definitely like that for, linemen in general, very good offensive lineman who, again, projected to go 132, ends up falling all the way to 239. Here's why I think he fell. 2022 was not as good of a year as his 2021 year was. And I think that if he was drafted a year earlier, maybe he ends up going higher. He is an older prospect as well at 24 years of age. But again, I care about analytics. I care about something like PFF grades. Does a good job of translating to the next level at the offensive line position. And, he had a grade of over 90 in 2021, but it fell to 81.9 in 2022, which is still solid. So for a 7th round pick, this feels like a steal. And, I think that really he probably should have been drafted closer to 132 than 229 where he actually ended up. So as a whole, love the Zay Flowers pick. Really like the Trenton Simpson, the Kyrou Blue Kelly, and the Voorhees pick. And didn't love the other couple of picks. But you know what? No one's going to go 6 for 6 in my opinion. I think they came pretty close. So yeah, that's my thoughts on the Ravens draft. What are yours? Let me know in the comments below. Always love hearing from you. And of course, as always, thanks for watching.